Okay, so there have been a developer update, and
Good to go,
here's the
Nathan?
video.
Hey everyone, I'm Gavin Winter, Senior Systems Designer on the Overwatch team. We're back with another developer update to talk to you a little bit about some of the upcoming competitive changes. My teammate, Senior Research Scientist Natasha Miller,
Senior research scientist, oh my god, and she's wearing the this is the Mythra's uniform. This is really cool.
will tell us about updates to Defense Matrix a little later. A few weeks ago, we heard from Aaron that heroes are coming out of the Battle Pass and they'll be available for free the day they launch.
The day they launch, so exactly, it's gonna be a season 10. This is about Venture, right? Venture is gonna be released exactly on season 10, and I think does that mean Venture is going to be they're going to be available tomorrow on season 10 when season 10 come out? Is it tomorrow or next week?
He also talked about the new Mythic shop as well as the upcoming Clash playtest. He closed with a little sneak peek at what we're covering in this developer update. Season 10 is just around the corner, and we're excited to share these changes with you, starting with how we're updating the way you can play with friends this season. So let's talk about exactly how that'll work. We think Overwatch is at its best when you're playing with friends.
Okay, so it's going to be on Tuesday. It's going to be next week. We still have a couple of days of season 9, and I agree. Overwatch is at its best when playing with friends. I used to play Overwatch with a bunch of friends from Malaysia, and it was so much fun to just group up with your buddies and have a group of friends where you can just hang out every night and play Overwatch. Unfortunately, those people are disbanded, and I don't know where they are now.
So our new system in Season 10 lets any rank group with any other rank. That means, for example, if you're Plat and you've never been able to group with your friend in Bronze, you will be able to do that now.
Okay, this is the coolest thing ever. This is the wide group thing that they've been teasing for a while now. Now, the biggest problem with the aforementioned friends group that I used to have was that a couple of our friends are in Bronze. A couple of our friends went up to Platinum. Dude so wanted to reach Diamond, but he never made it. I don't know why. But every time he went on a certain rank above Plat, it means they couldn't group up with a bunch of our friends that are in Bronze. So I was right in the middle. I was right in Gold, and that means I could rank down by 2 ranks down to Bronze, but the other people couldn't rank and group up with the Bronze, so we had to split up every freaking time. We have won a certain games because he would rank up so much that he would reach Platinum, almost a Diamond, and we had to split up. So every freaking night, what happened was I would be floating up towards Diamond, towards Platinum, towards Diamond, and then he would have to disband the group because our friend would be in Bronze and he would be ranking up to Platinum and up to Diamond, and he wouldn't be able to group with them. So I decided to, excuse me, I wanted to play with these other people who's in Bronze, so I would split up and I would play with Bronze. And Bronze people playing with Gold is not a very good experience. You're playing with 3 or 4 idiots in your team, and I would rank down because of it. So what happened was every freaking night I would rank up to Platinum, near to Platinum, and then rank down to the bottom of Gold to Silver. Every freaking night it happens. So if this wide group thing is happening right now, that would be great. And I wish we had that years ago.
We'd refer to your group as a wide group because you and your friend are pretty far apart. There are some trade-offs for wide groups though. They only play against other wide groups, the queue times could be longer, and the matches will be sillier.
And that is exactly the experience that we had when we were able to group up people from Bronze to Platinum. One game, I think, broke the record because the game ended because the server shut down. I still remember that game. It was in Zenyatta's temple. What was the name of the level? It was in Zenyatta's temple. and we were able to block the red team from capturing the point, and we did not capture the point. So the game moves on at 0% for about 46 minutes, an hour and a half, and he just shut down. The other team couldn't play, couldn't cap the point because we got two platinum players playing against a team of bronzes. This is what they're talking about because the match will be when they said that the match will be sillier. Um, it's one of those trade-offs that you're just gonna have to deal with when you're playing with such a wide range of skill level. You're just gonna have a entirely silly game.
We'll still use our role delta tech to try to match you against similarly shaped groups. So if you're a plat tank and your friend is a bronze support, we'll try to find another plat tank and bronze support to match you two against. At the end of a wide match, you'll see a new modifier just for this system. Avoiding boosting is really important to us. So the wider your group is, the less your rank will change after any match. If you're bronze and you're grouped with a champion player, you can expect almost no change to your rank, regardless of the outcome. We expect...
Oh my god, you can expect almost no change in rank regardless of the outcome. Do you understand what that means? That means someone could be playing in a superbly wide group between, according to example, between bronze and champion, and they would be able to goof off the entire game, and they're not going to be punished because their rank would barely change at all. So yeah, I expect this is going to be abused, and we're probably going to see a bunch of content creators making these stupid decisions, and we'll see what happens.
All this to be a huge match quality win for our solo players because they'll never play against wide groups. We think of groups that are close in rank as narrow.
That's the greatest thing ever in this system. Solo players will never play with wide groups. I'm looking forward for that. If that means as a solo player, I would be having to deal with less divergent rank level, skill level. That'll be great. And I think most people would appreciate that as well.
So narrow matches will only be solos and narrow groups. All this means that you'll be able to choose whether you want to prioritize the highest match quality or playing with friends.
So that's the option, yeah. The highest match quality or playing with friends. I just wish that when they said the highest match quality, they really mean it. Because currently, I would see teams where Diamonds and Master Player is facing off people in Bronze in this Season 9 level. So I'm currently in Silver and Gold, and I would seriously see in one match Platinum player facing off with Bronze player. So that's how we would be getting stomps. At some point, they just couldn't get out of spawn because the Platinum player would just spawn camp them, and the Bronze player wouldn't be able to do anything about it. Now, if I were playing DPS, it means I'm just gonna have to switch to Sombra and hope I can cap the point while they spawn camp it. But if I were a tank, there is absolutely nothing I can do to help them get out of spawn. Now, the best part is if I were playing healer, that would be the best position where I could be the most influential. For instance, I just had a game where we got spawn camped. Nobody could get out of spawn barely 20-40 meters. This is Eichenwald. And the way I fixed it was that from Brig, I switched to Mercy. And by playing Mercy in Bronze, I know Mercy is considered one of the weaker state right now, but in Bronze, the resurrection is so powerful that we were able not only to cap the point, but almost captured a second point, even though our rank discrepancy was so high. So I just wish they would really clamp down on this rank quality thing, and making sure that solo player playing with narrow groups would not be playing with such a wide-ranging level of skill level.
We're also expecting to see fewer Smurfs after these changes too.
No, I'm not talking about Smurfs. Smurfs are very clear. They usually the one DPS player who's just overly skilled, usually a Genji main or something. They would Smurf and 1v5 the entire team. I've only seen a couple of those in the past couple of months, and they're quite rare in the metal ranks. And hopefully,
too, since we know some players were only creating alt accounts to play competitive with their friends. We've heard your request for more void slots, but having more than 3 in our current system breaks matchmaking for high-skilled players.
No, that's the problem. You see, there's a lot of players that they just want to avoid, not only because they're toxic, but because they just wouldn't shut up. Well, not only that, there are other problems. Like for instance, the other day, this one player just gave up. Gave up in the middle of competition. He just gave up. Just wouldn't play anymore. He was playing Orisa. It was our only tank. Dude just gave up. So at the beginning of the match, Orisa came out, died a couple of times. Lifeweaver tried to save her by using the pullback thing. And Orisa was really pissed because Lifeweaver pulled him back. Orisa was clearly overstretched. And Lifeweaver saved him a couple of times. And dude was really pissed because Lifeweaver pulled him back a couple of times and said that Lifeweaver was trolling and just refused to leave spawn. And I was like, okay. I wanted to avoid this guy, but I already got 3 other people in my avoid slot from the past week. Because that's how many players who are playing at a level where they're just gave up, either by being toxic and just insulting other players, or just gave up, just like this Orisa. The best thing they could do is just leave. See, you just leave and don't come back, because that means I would be getting a reduced losses from leaver penalty, and I don't have to deal with the avoid thing, because I wouldn't be facing with them again, because they would be penalized by that 15-minute timeout. And by the time they come back, I would be in other cycles with other players, so I wouldn't be meeting them. But this avoid thing is going to be really crucial going forward to reduce toxic players.
We realize that basing our avoid count on that restriction hamstrings the system for 99% of players, though.
Exactly, that's a problem.
So, to add all the new features we're about to discuss, we had to rethink what it means to avoid players from the ground up. First off, we're increasing the number of avoid slots to 10. We're also going to let you pin some avoided players so that they never fall off your list.
Okay, this is one of the coolest things that they are going to add. So the problem with avoided players is that you're probably going to be avoiding them for a certain period, and the system currently lets you keep player avoided for an entire week. You're probably not going to be meeting that player for the rest of the week. I mean, after a couple of matches, they'll be off and doing other things. And then you're stuck with an avoided player for the entire week. Now, having a 10-slot avoided player and ranking them like this, and then they would be pushed out of the rank out of 10. Out of the 10 slots, every time you add one, means the older player is just going to get pushed off and pushed down the list, and they're going to be less likely to be avoided. Yeah, but at the same time, you're less likely to meet them anyway. So that'll be great.
The trade-off we make to get these features is related to our next new feature. You'll now be able to prioritize your avoid list, where players at the top are most likely to be avoided. For players below Grandmaster, that's most of us, you can expect all 10 avoid slots to be reliable, but we still want to give you the tools to organize your list by how much you dislike the players on it. For our highest skill players, this feature is particularly important because if we can't find a balanced match, we'll start ignoring players at the bottom of the list in order as queue time increases. Another area we're addressing will bring changes to our lever penalties for unranked and competitive play. Right now, on the unranked side, our penalties kick in when you leave 4 out of your last 20 games and get worse when you leave 6 out of 20.
Now, this penalty, this was loosened up from the previous restriction. So, the previous restriction, when you leave a lot of games, they're going to ban you for the entire season. Now, I don't have the best internet connection in the world, and sometimes the power company isn't really reliable, so I would lose power in my computer. I would lose connection on the internet. It would drop off, and I would get disconnected. And I would just, try to come back really quick. In the previous seasons, that would be happening so many times that I would get banned for a couple seasons. Because it keeps happening every season. Now, after they loosened up the restrictions, I haven't been getting any those kind of bans. But it doesn't mean that I never got any, I never left any game. Sometimes it happens. There's nothing you can do about it. Sometimes getting disconnected, or just, getting kicked out of a game. Especially in the first couple of seconds where they would cancel a match if you disconnected. There's nothing I can do about that. It's just bad luck. But every time I got disconnected, I would try to come back. Now, they are tightening up this restriction because I think so many people have been taking advantage of this more lenient lever penalty. And on the one side, I'm kind of worried that I'm going to get banned for the entire season. On the other hand, there are so many levers in this season that I'm kind of glad that they're tightening up the lever penalty again. Damn the internet connection problems. We're just gonna have to deal with that when the time comes. But right now, I'm looking forward to seeing more people getting punished for leaving when they shouldn't be leaving. They should be playing competitive and not just going AFK. Now, the problem is, when you're trying to prevent people from leaving, they're just gonna AFK. This happened previous seasons when the lever penalty was quite tightened. People would just AFK and spawn doing nothing. I still remember one Tracer player. She was getting killed so many times, and she was pissed with our healer. She just stayed in spawn the whole game. And she would leave spawn and come back just so that she doesn't get the lever kicked out of the game and get a lever penalty.
We aren't changing those, but we are adding a more lenient 5-minute penalty if you've left 2 out of 20, and a much more harsh 48-hour penalty if you've left 10 out of your last 20 games.
Now, this is seems a bit hard, but the 48-hour penalty. But if you left 10 out of 20 games, you freaking deserve this.
Now, there aren't a lot of players leaving more than 50% of their matches.
Yeah, that's going to be a very rare condition. This is for the unranked mode.
But they do exist, and we think the game would be better without them most of the time. On the competitive side, we're closing another edge case by suspending any players that leave more than 10 matches a season.
Now, here's the thing. 10 games left for the entire season. I get the feeling that there's going to be a lot of people in here who just, out of Wi-Fi dropping off or a cat pulled off their plug. I still remember a couple of years ago where one player just left, and when they came back, they profusely apologized because their cat unplugged their computer. So they had to reboot and everything. So 10 games throughout the entire season. That's going to be like, what, 2-3 months? If you play 30 games a day, chances are you're going to be having an increased level of risk over the week to have a disconnection or whatever problems. Within an entire season, I get a feeling that a lot of people would be hitting this number by a lot.
We're also going to start counting matches completed in competitive toward the 20-game window for unranked. Finally, I want to talk to you about our improved anonymity features. We already had a streamer mode, but we're making this feature more useful to all players, not just streamers. Right now, this feature is client-side only.
I tried this streamer mode. It's pretty useless. It only disguises the username and everything, and doesn't really help at all.
Which means it only changes how players' names appear on your screen.
That's right. So if someone saw my username in a game, they thought, "Oh, it's this streamer." They're gonna be able to see my name, even though if I turn this on. So I completely turned off this streamer mode. Right now, it's completely useless. But here's the deal.
The big change we're making is adding server-side functionality, which means we'll change how your name appears on everyone's screens in your match.
This should have been the way it was implemented since the beginning. I don't know why they didn't do that and just hide usernames in the streamers' streaming screens. But this should have been how it's supposed to be from the beginning. I'm glad they're implementing this. Hopefully it'll be a good implementation, and we'll see how it goes.
We think this is great for players who may experience harassment because of their battle tag and just want to queue up without any chance of that happening.
Do you realize how many people added me as friends? I got a list of that I just needed to keep rejecting every freaking match. So this is a serious issue. I'm glad they are dealing with that. This doesn't just apply to streamers. This applies to everyone. You can just, anonymize your presence in the game and avoid people from harassing you outside of the game.
Don't forget to report players that harass you or anyone else, though.
Now, here's the thing. Reporting players have not been working out for me. I don't know why. I would report AFK, I would put levers, trolls, all sorts of stuff. I would report racists who use racist usernames. The numbers and the letters that are famous for certain hate groups. Those keep popping off in the game. I keep reporting those. None of those have been actioned. But there's one time when Morga came out, I trolled people who were playing Morga at the beginning of the season because it's clear that they bought Morga off of a battle pass. And when they lose, I would laugh at them and I would say, "You bought Morga and you still lose. You should get a refund." I got freaking muted for that. Muted for entire 2 weeks or something. And since then, I have cut off all communication. I disabled all chat and voice chat, and my life has improved 1,000%.
And speaking of reporting, don't worry. Players in streamer mode being disruptive in text chat or voice can still be reported, avoided, and blocked, and penalties will still apply to them in exactly the same way as normal, because we still know their name behind the scenes. Next, Natasha will talk to you about our main initiatives to combat disruptive behavior.
Thank you, Gavin. Hiya, I'm Natasha Miller, a senior research scientist at Blizzard working on Defense Matrix for Overwatch. While we are always working in many areas of combating disruptive behavior, today I want to talk about disruptive chat. I'll also touch on some of the tools that we're improving to help keep the community safe. Disruptive chat can really negatively affect someone's experience in-game. In our focus to curb this disruptive behavior, we are taking a multi-pronged approach that will roll out over several seasons. Today, I'll discuss the first 2 coming out in the next few seasons. In our first approach, we will prevent players at endorsement level 0 from using text or voice chat. To be clear, the only way to get to endorsement level 0 is by having your account actioned for an in-game infraction.
So this seems like something new that is happening, but as I described in my previous experience where I got actioned for making fun of people who bought the battle pass, it kind of defeats the point, doesn't it? People are already punished for their penalties, and putting them into endorsement level 0, is that gonna do anything? Because it just mutes them, as you know, they're already penalized as before.
Even brand new players start at endorsement level 1. So these are players that have proven themselves to be bad actors, so much so in the past that they received a penalty. This feature would allow those players to take a forced break in team and match channels until they work their way back up to endorsement level 1.
So yeah, you're just gonna mute people that are toxic and hopefully they'll come back. I get the feeling that they wouldn't be as much disturbed by that as people would think they will, because they're toxic in the first place, and they're just gonna stay out of the conversation, right? Because they were penalized. And are they going to work their way back up to regular level endorsements? Probably some people will, especially the ones who are unjustly penalized, perhaps, who were seriously playing the game and was just having fun with other people and unjustly penalized for it. But real toxic people, I don't know. At least there's a way to add penalties for them and shut them the hell up.
And from there, in all higher levels, chat would work as it did before. Remember, the best way to work your way back up to endorsement level 1 is to demonstrate good teamwork by trying your best, helping your team, and using the in-game ping system. In our second approach, we will remove chat functionality for spectators. Spectators don't have an in-game need to use the chat channels.
I agree. I don't know if anyone has noticed, but in regular quick plays, lately there has been an increase in, just so much spectator spam, and people just don't need to be talking a lot about anything during other people's gameplay. I mean, they're just watching a game. Why do they have the need to talk to the players who are playing the game? They're spectators. Any chat they do should be, if any, should be in their own spectator lobby. But so Overwatch has never had that. Spectators could just join in and make fun of player playing in their game, and it's not kosher. So it's just get rid of it.
Remove a channel that is increasingly being used by bad actors. Along with these improvements, we are looking at making it easier and faster to report any reportable offense mid-match. At the moment, our numbers indicate that most reporting is done towards the end or post-match. And one reason for this is that it's not quick to report mid-match. However, this could put pressure on players to remember that they need to report, who to report, and what to report them for, all after the match. And at that point, they're likely more interested in just starting the next match.
And not only that, a lot of people, when they have been having bad experience during the game, as soon as the match ends, as soon as the defeat screen goes up, they would just leave. So if anyone would just report, I don't know, it would just be, queuing for the next game, having a drink and turn on TikTok or something. And people would be yelling and, asking people to report this guy at the end of the match. And there would be arguments on why this piece of shit needs to be reported. You're the piece of shit, and there would be finger pointing everywhere. And the game would end as the POTG is over. It's only like 20 seconds. So there won't be any discussion. People aren't going to report it. There's going to be argument. People needs to be reminded to report, and they still won't do it.
So we are hoping that by making it faster to report mid-match, more players will use the reporting system. This is very important because we rely on players to help us know what is happening in matches so that our mitigation systems can be more effective and reliable, overall making Overwatch a safer community for everyone.
Now here's the deal. Reporting someone during a match means you have to right-click on their name, click report, pick the type of infraction you want to report in, and then type an explanation on what you want to do, what they did, what you want to report. That takes a long time that people should be playing. Now, if they're going to change that and make it easier for people to report in game, this needs to be a more effective report user UX, user experience, graphical user interface that would be a lot more user-friendly, easier to report. And hopefully, I was hoping they would implement something like the Counter-Strike Overwatch system, where a sort of referee would jump in during the match and see what's going on and just take action out and then and there.
Player feedback is a vital part of improving and optimizing these types of features. So we want to create even more avenues for you to share your thoughts with us.
But apparently what they're just going to do is they're just going to do some user interface improvement, and there's not probably going to be an Overwatch system like in Counter-Strike, even though that would be the most effective way to combat. Well, it's not really effective in Counter-Strike, but it feels good when the Overwatch just showed up and just banned some jackass from cheating or something.
In Season 11, we're introducing the first iteration of player surveys into Overwatch 2. This won't happen after every game because survey participants will be chosen at random among the player base. The survey will be prompted after the progression screen at the end of match flow.
Okay, sorry about that. Let's continue.
Of improving and optimizing these types of features. So we want to create even more avenues for you to share your thoughts with us.
Now here's the deal. This is an approach that YouTube did with their algorithm. Notice on YouTube sometimes you get an option just asking how you're doing with the video. If you like the video, is it a good recommendation or whatnot? It's great for YouTube to do that. It's just going to be an easy tap in the middle of the scrolling experience, in your browsing experience. But the way they implemented this, let's look at that first.
In Season 11, we're introducing the first iteration of player surveys into Overwatch 2. This won't happen after every game because survey participants will be chosen at random among the player base.
Again, the same as YouTube. They're just going to choose a random viewer and poll them on how they think the video is performing for them.
The survey will be prompted after the progression screen at the end of match flow. This means that you'll be able to watch the play of the game, give endorsements, and review progression without getting interrupted. Once the progression screen is closed, the survey will prompt the player for their feedback.
Now here's the thing. They are placing this in the correct place. After the entire thing is passed, you prompt the player for their feedback. But
both console and PC players will get the option to give us feedback via a QR code.
You're going to have to give them feedback by clicking a link and filling up an entire survey and or QR code. This should not be the implementation that they are after. Whatever it is, it should not be the implementation, because people would be most likely just, wouldn't be so invested to click on a link to give feedback or scan a QR code and open them on their phone, etc., etc. It should have been implemented within the game as a simple option, like on YouTube, you get Simple faces from smiley to frowns. Is it good? Is it bad? One question, frownies. 1 to 5, good or bad? Good to bad. If you do this using a QR code, you're just gonna get selective garbage feedback. Most people who are gonna be so pissed off that it'll push them over the edge to pull out their phone, scan the QR code, and fiddle through the feedback just to tell Blizzard that they had just had a terrible experience. No. This method of survey would put them into a, how should we put it? A survivorship bias of the worst people who are just so pissed off being inadvertently selected to give the worst feedback they could ever give, that they would ever give. So I don't expect any good response out of these feedback. If you had a good experience, why would you want to click on the link and, you know, share your feedback unless you're feeling very generous today? So you have two ends of the extreme who would be giving you feedback, and the majority of people in the middle would just ignore this and move on to the next game. This should not be the implementation that they should have selected. It should have been like YouTube. Just in a game, frown, sad. Ironically, they have this in the first iteration of Overwatch. When the cards came up, you can pick if you're happy or not. And they got rid of the cards in this. So here we are, struggling back, and they're circling back to that, but they're not there yet.
PC players may also choose to open the link in a separate browser. Surveys will ask questions about the game, including new modes, events, features, and how you feel about the way we're mitigating disruptive play. We're excited for this feature, and we look forward to continuing to improve the game as we gather your feedback.
It would be great, but as I have said, there's too much effort, a friction between finishing your game after you had a bad experience and having to click on a link or open a QR code to fill out a form so that Blizzard found out that you had a bad experience. It should have been a simple one click, good, bad, middle, any way you want to implement it in the end screen during the cards.
These are just a few of the things we have been working on in this space. We will continue to bring you updates on our progress mitigating disruptive behavior via the Defense Matrix blogs, which will get a refresh in the coming seasons to include even more on the impact this work is having in the community through transparency metrics. Defense Matrix and competitive will always be core to Overwatch, and we'll continue iterating, improving, and of course listening closely to your feedback on these systems. So please keep sharing your thoughts with us, and we can't wait to show you what we've been working on in Season 10 and beyond. See you soon!
Natasha.
All right. The rest of this is just filler, and that's it for the reaction on the developer update. That's my review. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.